Hi, and welcome back to SDI Coffee Break. And again, we're with Dan Turchin from PeopleReign. Hi, Dan. Nice to see you again.
Likewise. Good to be back.
Yeah, it is actually. In the last, because I love all this, that's why I love all this, right? I love all this stuff. In the last session, we talked as simply as we could about some of the technologies. It did start to get a bit more complicated, my fault, right? Because I do tend to overcomplicate stuff like this. So I want to keep it, I still want to keep it sort of simple. But we talked about algorithms, right? And I'd like just to maybe go over how you define an algorithm, what it is, and how does it help to create some of these systems, yeah? So what is an algorithm?
Yeah, a bit of math that helps us make a prediction based on some pattern of data or based on some raw data that is fed. So ultimately, we're trying to assist in the decision-making process. So a little bit of math, for those who have taken calculus or linear programming or something like that, you're familiar with algorithms already. But all you need to know really is that take a chunk of data, take a bit of math, feed the data into the math, the equation essentially, and the output is either a prediction or a recommendation.
That's great. I mean, that's quite cool, actually. And again, I'm not going to complicate things because I've got loads of questions I want to ask, but I'm not going to ask them, right? But that's pretty cool. And again, there's a lot of definition. There is more definition about this kind of stuff out there, isn't it? What they are, and that's hopefully makes it easier to understand. And when we talk about, algorithms, what about the application in relation to AI? So let's talk about some of the applications then, right, that we're seeing now, because I think it's fair to say that we're using AI every single day. Whenever we pick a camera up or whatever, we pick a phone up or whatever, or engage with technology, the high likelihood is there's AI somewhere in the system that is supporting what you're trying to do. So what about things like, the common usage of this type of technology? Maybe face recognition, maybe natural language recognition. How is that being used right now in 2020 to create services and create experiences? How is that happening?
To your point, AI is becoming business essential, and what you're going to see is it's immersive, it's ubiquitous, it's pervasive across all industries. And I think one of the misnomers, and certainly a place where I get passionate, is when I see people fearing the bot or forecasting that the bot apocalypse is upon us. I think a better definition of AI is not artificial intelligence, but augmented intelligence.
Yeah.
In a kind of digital first world, think of, doctors are essentially becoming computers with scalpels. And, automobiles are essentially, computers with steering wheels. So whether that's, your kid's teacher, using some flavor of AI for adaptive learning to make sure, every kid gets the best content delivered at the right time, or whether that's, military personnel using AI to detect where the nearest mine is located, or some technology we've had around for a long time, which is autopilot technology. Your plane is essentially, for the most part, being steered by AI. Every industry, every field, the decision-making process is being improved. The human is being augmented by AI. I think that's an important bit of framing to share as we get deeper into the conversation.
Yeah, I think you're right. And certainly over the last few years, I've read more about the augmentation of the human in an environment. So in a service desk environment, how that agent is augmented, how the service is orchestrated between human handoff to technology or robot, whatever you want to call it, technology, which I think that really excites me. That really does excite me, actually, and how that is going to change the premise of what we do in IT, which I think is, as we said, people need to understand it. It needs to be demystified so we can actually harness it. And to me, the word that, the one word that screams out when we talk about this technology is assistive. It isn't about job losses. It isn't about, the rise of the robots. It isn't about, Terminator 50 or whatever it is, right? It's about the assistive capabilities of making us better soft machines, yeah? You know what I mean? And I think, and is that how you see it as well? Is it that assistive thing, the sort of the purpose? Is that the intent, if you like, of AI generally? Do you think?
I'll give you an example of what I think the current state of AI is and why I think augmented is a better use of the A in AI. My friend Yvonne is a kid straight out of a 2-year college in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. First job out of school was as a call center agent doing tech support for a large brand. And I had an opportunity, they're using PeopleReign. I had an opportunity to spend a day shadowing Yvonne, and it's a call center with 435 agents. And I was there when a caller called in asking about the APN settings on her iPhone. Mm-hmm. And in the case of Yvonne and this kind of call center agent, she has 30 seconds to pull up the correct knowledge article from a traditional knowledge management system and basically stop the SLA clock. So be able to at least diagnose the issue and provide a link to a knowledge article. So Yvonne has to do that 15 times a day, or else she gets penalized. She gets over 20 and she gets a bonus. So I see this poor kid, beads of sweat dripping down her forehead as she gets asked about, APN settings on an iPhone. She didn't know if it was, mineral, vegetable, animal. I mean, just didn't know where to start. And thanks to AI-driven technology, Yvonne now gets a screen pop when the caller calls in. Based on natural language processing, it shows Yvonne kind of a treasure map. Here's the likely best next step to take. Here's the likely answer. Here's the knowledge article. So that, that harrowing 30 seconds while Yvonne tries to find the right answer goes away. Now it's an immediate. Every day now, Yvonne gets 20 or more calls resolved because she's being augmented by this AI-based system. So Yvonne's life is better. All of Yvonne's colleagues, 20 million Yvonnes around the world. So being able to have these answers at their fingertips by smart AI that's augmenting their decision-making, it's changing the world for them. And the thought that, in some way their livelihood or job is in jeopardy because of AI is really, is what, we talk about demystifying AI. I want more people to meet Yvonne and understand how AI is helping.
Yeah, that's a really great story. And I think at some point, maybe as we go through these, when we talk about sort of personas, use cases, when we talk about the application of this stuff, maybe let's just talk about what it means in the service desk environment as well. Let's talk about what it really means for people, because that's a really great example. And for me, for a situation where I can tap into as a leader of a team or a group of people into more skills that are going to help me by taking away some of the things that a machine is better at, then I'm going to have a better team, So let's maybe talk about that when we come on to that, when we come on a little bit later, maybe as well. Okay, we're gonna stop that one there, if it's okay, Dan. And maybe we're going to come on to the next one. We're going to talk about some of the benefits, maybe, and some of the drawbacks, because we've talked about that story. But let's try and give a rounded picture of what this could mean, right? So thank you for joining us again. Thank you for our listeners for listening, and we'll catch you in the next session. Thank you.